in knowing the offense as, uh, the other guys, Pickett, and more importantly, Dylan Gabriel.
Yeah.
And he because he played in three offenses at a bigger school, and that's why he wasn't on the other field. And this is kind of some of the stuff that I think it was Charles Robinson wrote about, and some other people, that he's just behind, right? I didn't really care. Like, I don't really care if he's behind. It's like you have this time now, right, to catch up if that's where you're at. And um when they come back. So my question for you is when they come back, how do you feel about all that? Are you buying into any of that? And when they come back, for me, it's like blank slate, go. Like, when you hit the ground for training camp, should it be just like go and it's sink or swim? You're gonna get a reps with the ones, and if you can't do it, it's sink or swim time, or are they still easing guys in? Are they still giving guys reps on field too? And how do you think they play that out?
Well, first, like, let's address like the Charles Robinson thing of it, right? Like,
Yeah.
is Shador behind? Is there stuff that he's struggling with? Is there not? One, he's a rookie quarterback, so I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised if there was stuff in the transition to the NFL that he's eventually going to struggle with. Same thing
Sure.
with like Dylan Gabriel, right? Now, where Dylan does have a bit of a beat on him is that Dylan does have experience where terminology changes. I know people are like, well, Shador's changed offensive coordinators too. And I don't know how changing offensive coordinators suddenly became a flex. Like, it's now, like, if you notice that, it's like, oh man, this guy's been through turmoil. Like, he's pro ready. He already knows how to deal with the chaos. It's like, but then Baker Mayfield has 5 offensive coordinators in 5 years, and we're like, this is the worst organization ever, right? So it's like, I don't understand it. Like, I think it might be true that Dylan can pick up the playbook faster, but I don't think that's a skill set that determines anything at the end of the day, because there's a lot of quarterbacks who can pick up a playbook really fast. Case Keenum can do it really fast.
Yeah.
But there's a reason why they can pick up a playbook really fast, because they have a lot of experience picking up playbook. I don't know how long it takes Joe Burrow to pick up a new playbook. I've never had to see him do it. It's not one of those skills I really care about, whether he's learning the book super fast, if he's a savant-like guy or anything like that. That's for coaches to get excited about behind the scenes. And like, again, we really don't know who's struggling with what. If they're behind the veterans who have been there since March, it's not a surprise.
No.
That's exactly how that should go. I think with Shador, you have to have your ears out, because he is somebody where there is an incentive to report something about, right? Even if there's nothing there, you got to make the report look like something, because news about Shador is gonna make people tune in, because he's an ultra popular figure, and the draft made him one of the most popular players in the NFL before he even took a step foot in the league, right? Like, it made him a star, basically, right? National story. So that is just one part of it, right? Who's ahead, who's not, I don't really care. It might be the case, and I've talked about this before, that Dylan might just have more opportunity at the beginning of the season than Shador anyways, no matter what happens in camp. Just because if you look at how Kevin Stefanski likes his quarterbacks, and I've made this point, and I don't want to get too far rambly, so I try to cut this off short, and we can have a larger discussion about it later on. But Kevin is not, or does not appear to be, I'm going to be in your headset, hold your hand, and tell you everything guy, right? From what we have seen, Kevin is here's the play. We told you what to do during the week. You need to look for all this stuff. We're going to trust you to do it, right? And that's where we've seen certain guys struggle, right? Every time we throw a rookie out there, we're like, oh, it looks like he's left out there to die, or he was overwhelmed. There's probably some truth to that, right? I think Kevin, at his heart, he wants a veteran quarterback. He wants somebody who can go out there and do what needs to be done, and he doesn't have to hold his hand, because that's kind of how he coaches, and there's beauty in that. Like, if Kevin got fired today and ended up in Cincinnati, they win a Super Bowl with Kevin. I'd be pretty confident. That's the exact kind of scenario where he would thrive at. It's a little bit more difficult when he's developing a guy, and that's not the most helpful development strategy, right?
He wants you to have the answers, right? He wants you to have the answers to the
He
test
wants
and know where to go
you
with the ball.
to know the basis of the offense enough and to know the fundamentals of what you should do when you see stuff that you can find the answer that's in the play. Because we always talk about this. Every Kevin Stefanski year, there was somebody open here. There was an answer there. There's always an answer in the Kevin Stefanski offense. That's how it's designed, right?
Yes.
It's up to you to figure out what the question is, right, in order to fill out the answer. And that's where some quarterbacks kind of fall. That's why Joe Flacco did so well here. He's like, oh, yeah, I know these questions. Yep. That's the answer. And great sometimes point. He thinks he knows the answer, the question, and he's wrong, and he throws the interception. But there's always an answer in the Kevin Stefanski. That's the strength of it, right? That's why guys can look so good here. But you got to find the question. And that's just going to be hard for Shedeur to do in year one, right? Especially like fresh out of camp. So he might ball out. I think what's important for people who are interested in Shedeur's growth, just make sure Shedeur is passing every challenge that the Cleveland Browns are handing to him, right? He's not going to start week one, more than likely. Like, it's probably not going to happen. And he might not start till the second half of the season. Just for now, what's important is that whatever team he's up against, don't be obsessive if it's first team, second team reps. Just win those reps, right? Yep. That will send a positive message. Whatever quarter you're in, if you're Shedeur, win that quarter. Right? That will send the right message. That will send a positive message, and that will eventually turn into starts for him because there's going to be opportunity for anybody in this quarterback room at some point during the season. It's about just handling the task in front of you. Don't be so obsessed with starting. Is he getting first team reps? Is this competition fair? This isn't really a 4-man competition. I think it's a 3-man competition, right? Like, I think it's like if Shedeur blows us away, he can win the job. But outside of that, it's probably going to be Kenny or Joe. Like, and then maybe if Dylan blows us away, we go with Dylan and we feel more comfortable because he's older and he's played 5 years of FBS football versus 2. So that to me is kind of how I see the room and kind of how I see Shedeur's whole part in it. It's going to be something because there's always a reason to get upset about whatever's happening.
So what about when they go to camp? Is it like training camp? You think they continue to treat them the same way and bring them along as they feel is appropriate? Or is it like, they've mentioned, they don't care really how many reps Flacco gets right now because they know what he is and they know who he is. As they get closer to the season, I expect him to get ramped up because I think he's going to start. But that's my personal opinion. Are you of the opinion that Pickett's going to start? Is that where you would put your money if you're a betting man right now? And then B, are they taking the training wheels off for these guys, or are they still kind of easing them in at the pace they see fit?
All right, so here's how I think that this is going to break down. Kenny Pickett is who I think the coaching staff wants to start. That is their hope. Best case scenario, they come out of camp, Kenny Pickett's a clear-cut starter because that's the guy who's young enough to get better, but not so and young enough to play 17 games, but not old to where you have no future with them, or so old that you can't trust them to get through 17 games, right? So I think that's in their heart of hearts. They want to start somebody for 17 games, and they know the most stable person who can win this job is Kenny Pickett. I don't know if they're bought in that Kenny's going to win the job, though, right? I think that's what they want to have happen, right? If Kenny plays well, then they're like, he's better than Joe Flacco. They're gonna jump ship with Joe Flacco, and they're gonna go full steam ahead with Kenny Pickett. Like, I truly believe that would be what they do. Joe Flacco is there. You watch wrestling, Brad?
Yeah. No.
You don't watch wrestling? All right. There's a concept in wrestling called, like, if you're the champion and you get disqualified, even if you lose via disqualification, you keep the title, right? The title can't change hands on disqualification in wrestling.
Okay. Yeah.
Joe de facto is what I'm going to call it, right?
Okay.
He is the guy who, if nobody blows us away, we're going to start Joe Flacco, right? Like, he is the C option where it's like, hey, if nobody looks like they're better than what we remember Joe Flacco being, we're just going to start Joe Flacco, probably cut Kenny Pickett, try to get him back on the practice squad. If you can't get him back on the practice squad, you're bringing like Tyler Huntley or Bailey Zapp to be like hey, if we need a backup for if like somebody goes down during the game, we could play one of the rookies for a couple of quarters and then bring this guy off the practice squad to start a week, right? In the early part of the season. So that is how they handle the veterans. When it comes to the rookies, I think it's going to be more or less similar to what we saw so far, unless something changes dramatically, like with the level of play at like a joint practice. But it's probably going to be a lot of like second team, third team reps, trading those off, and then every once in a while, Dylan gets some first team reps, and then Shedeur gets some first team reps, and then people write a story about it. It's a big deal. They ask Kevin about it, and then they go back to giving Kenny the bulk of the first team reps. I think they want Kenny to be the starter. Whether that happens or not is entirely up to Kenny Pickett, because I don't think they're dead set on Kenny Pickett being the starter.
Yeah.
Which I think is fine.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fair.
I think that's fair. I think that's probably pretty accurate. I think I don't really have a whole lot of, as you know, I have a whole lot of faith in Kenny Pickett to go grab that job, which is kind of why I think your Joe de facto scenario is what plays out for me.
That's like, what I think is going to happen too, right? Like, I'm not a big believer in Kenny.
No.
And look, the Browns aren't either, because if they were truly a big believer in Kenny Pickett, they would have extended him already. They would have kept his 5th-year option, and they would have never signed Joe Flacco and never drafted Dylan Gabriel, right? Like the Shedeur thing, you could say that's for the future. I understand that. But if they were like, oh, man, Kenny, this is the guy that we believe in it, no, I don't think that. But I think they're like, hey, man, it would be great if he can emerge as a starter. I think that's how they're feeling.
That's what I think, too. Yeah. I think they're going to.
And that's why you hear what you hear coming from the building about Kenny, right? It's because they're hoping that's the case with him.
Yeah. That seems to be like the company line, right? Like what you hear from the Fishbowl on CBD, it's always Kenny Pickett, and it feels like that's the company line. And then, I just don't see him like wowing anybody enough to, we'll see what happens. I think it'll be Joe de facto, as you like to call him there. I like that nickname because, I mean, they know Joe can do it, and you have to, at least in my opinion, you have to play the guy that gives you the best chance to win.
He's the Office on Netflix. That's what Joe Flacco is. Yeah. It's like you spend like 10 minutes like, oh, what do I want to watch? Nothing else is there.
On, man.
Aye, man, throw in the Office. Like Joe Flacco is that for the Browns.
Flacco in. Yeah.
Just still Flacco in. It'd be fine for now. We'll find something else later. Right?
Yeah, because I mean, if they go, I mean, the recipe for winning is running the ball and playing really good defense. And maybe in this iteration of the Browns, if Pickett isn't up for that task of running that offense, you know that Joe can at least be functional in that offense and give you a chance to win a couple games early.
And you're thinking the ideal is like, hey, Joe threw so many interceptions in 2023 because we didn't have a run game, right?
No run
maybe the existence of a run game can keep his targets down. Well, not targets, his attempts down, which hopefully makes it so you can play him a little bit longer than 6 games without it all falling apart. Maybe stretch it into 8 games, right? And get you to the bye week, right? Like that's once we get to the bye week, hats off. Anybody can start after the bye week, right?
Yeah.
Or even after that London game, right? Hats are off.
I've been
always
saying
goes
6.
down.
Yeah.
Stuff always goes down the week we play Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh every year. Like it's an undeniable fact. Something is always happening that week. So I wouldn't be surprised if something happens then, especially the season isn't going great. But yeah, I think that's kind of how it lines up for me is, if I'm looking at this through Kevin's lens, there's no way he's like, I want to play all 4 of them this year. No coach.
No.
And because you've lived with coaches before, right? Like,
yes. Yeah.
No coach goes into the season like, man, I can't wait to play all my quarterbacks.
We're going to play all 4. We're going to try to play 5 quarterbacks every year.
Every time you ever hear a coach say, we're going to play both of them, boy, they always like have to suck in some spit and like, ugh, I got to play both of them. They don't like that. No, so.
No, they want their guy.